Floating in an endless galaxy is a sphere we all call home. When you zoom out, it's nothing more than an irrelevant speck, a little piece of dust. But when you zoom in, you see wonders. You see life. 71% water, 29% land, 7 continents, 195 countries, and 7,000 languages spoken by around 8 billion people.
Whether you believe it's created or a cosmic collision of atoms, this planet is undeniably our greatest gift. But if you don't get out to see it, you might never realize it, and you'll certainly misunderstand it. Traveling the world has taught me much of what I know, but the greatest realization was how my insulated Canadian upbringing misled so many of my early beliefs. I grew up seeing so much of the world as behind, backwards, and even untrustworthy. I was taught to fear what I didn't understand, and there was a lot I didn't understand. My saving grace was that no matter how narrow my perspective was, one thing I had was an insatiable curiosity and a desire to better understand this planet. And in 2015, my life changed forever by a single idea that I got from a coworker and friend. That friend had just completed an exchange program through our university, but the crazy part, she did it in a place called Bangkok. I remember thinking, why would anyone go there? It's backwards. It's underdeveloped, and I'm sure it must be dangerous. But she told me a ton of epic stories about this foreign land, and she encouraged me to take a chance and take my school exchange to Thailand. I told her, nah, I'm pretty set on Paris. Honestly, the conversation scared me, but the idea was now planted. This thought would challenge me for the next few weeks, but I couldn't shake it. How could I travel to Thailand? I don't speak their language. I can't trust anyone there. I probably couldn't even survive. My most basic human needs were totally put into question. I was 100% going to France. Well, that's what I told myself. But a few months went by, and it was my turn to take an exchange abroad. So I packed my bags, headed to the airport. Here we go. Said a terrifying goodbye to my girlfriend at the time, and I got my boarding pass. But Paris was not printed on it.
Day one was overwhelming. I mean, I was literally taken out of my Canadian bubble and thrown into the wild. You cannot make this up. But on that first day, I got my bag, I headed to the taxi, and I realized I had left my GoPro at the baggage claim. And so I panicked. I sprinted back into the airport. I asked security to please go find it for me. But they couldn't. It was gone. And I concluded right then and there that in a lawless place like Thailand, there was no way I'd be seeing that thing again. And that small camera was a huge chunk of my life savings. I was devastated, but I tried one last place. And the reason my channel exists today is because one Thai stranger returned that GoPro to the lost and found. I think about that moment a lot, because my life would have changed if it hadn't been returned. And it was also one of my first travel lessons, that even though some parts of the world might not look the same, maybe I should have a little more trust. Nah, just kidding. Because literally 20 minutes later, as I got in the taxi with no internet on my phone, no ability to speak the same language as the driver, my mind began to spin as we took a turn down an alleyway. I thought for sure this was it. I'm getting mugged. But about 45 minutes later, I arrived alive. A little bit wiser and a little bit more trusting. But I still had a long way to go. Over the next few weeks, I would travel many more countries. Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos.
This can't be real life. This is so amazing.
And there'd be more uncomfortable experiences just like this one. Even a couple scary ones. But every time I came out on the other side, I grew to be more trusting of others, of people that looked and sounded nothing like me. From seeing things that would never fly in Canada, to trying food that tasted nothing like mom's cooking, to hearing sounds that I'd never heard before, and to finally seeing an entire family on a scooter. I gotta be honest though, after 10 years in Asia, this one's straight up normal to me now.
Look at you go!
Asia taught me that life could be so much more than the tiny little box my mind had tried to make of it. This continent absolutely changed me as a person. But you see, the greatest gift that Asia gave me was releasing me from a deep chokehold. Vancouver, Canada is a beautiful city, but the pressure I felt to be successful, to be someone, if I had stayed any longer, the pressure would have smothered me. One of the greatest lessons that travel has ever given me came from Asia, seeing the biggest smiles I'd ever seen from those that owned the least. And it taught me that money was not the answer. There was no amount of money that could buy the smiles and the happiness that I saw.
Very mad.
Fucking idiot!
This chapter challenged my corporate hustle mentality and showed me that maybe chasing more didn't actually lead to more. But it was over. My time in Asia as a broke backpacker and an exchange student came to an end. I had a prestigious corporate job all lined up. And best of all, I got travel out of my system. I was now ready to enter the real world as an accountant. But within just 1 month of being inside the confines of my little tiny cubicle, I began to feel suffocated, and I had a deeply terrifying realization that if I didn't do something, this is how the rest of my life would look. I was completely overtaken by fear, but this fear was far more terrifying than what I first felt when I landed in Thailand, because this one followed me everywhere I went. It followed me to work, it followed me to bed, and it even followed me into my weekends off. For the first time in my life, I felt hopeless.
I was now anxious 24/7. I was scared that I was looking at what life would be like for the next 40 years, and I hated every bit of it.
My freedom had run out. But one thing that gave me life was a literal daydream. This exact daydream. I would think back to driving my little Scoopy around Koh Samet, Thailand, aimlessly exploring, and it was clear. Those were the days. But every time I snapped out of it, I was brought back to reality. Harsh lights, a soulless spreadsheet of endless numbers, and I too was starting to lose what made me human.
And I thought back to my time in Asia.
If they can be happy without much, then why can't I?
That one thought gave me all the courage I needed to take the leap of faith. And I quit. I was gonna find a way to use this camera of mine to live a life of travel.
Now, of all my misguided beliefs of the world, none were more untrue than what I believed of the Middle East. A place that, on the surface, seemed like it was always on the brink of war. A place of division, of hate, and violence. And travel had a lot to teach me. This has been one of my favorite regions of the world to explore, because once I pushed past the headlines and even past my own fear, I found beauty I never knew even existed. If you thought it was all sand dunes, let me just say, the beauty spans way beyond that. I mean, look at this. A giant forest surrounded by canyons, and that's just the start. From the most epic islands, the life found inside of the wadis, the gorgeous architecture, and some of the most incredible history of our planet. The Middle East is known for lots of riches, oils, silks, incenses, but the real beauty, that's here. It's the kindness of its people. Generosity and authenticity is not a word I often hear when describing this region.
But I hope the world will someday come to see this truth.
Today, I even have one of my home bases in the Middle East, in Dubai, a place that I feel more at ease and more at home than I do in my own home country, the place I was born. From strangers that opened their homes to us, to Bedouins that insisted we join them for tea, countless times it's happened. And the most beautiful thing about that is that it's often done with no intentions. No intention, that is, other than to share a little piece of our lives together. The Middle East holds many lessons, but maybe her greatest is that no matter the color of our skin, the God we pray to, love is the universal language. And there's no clearer way to see that than traveling here.
Jordan, Oman, Saudi. All among my best travels yet, and funny enough, all places I was told to avoid. How close I was to missing out on this. Life on the road had turned me into someone I hardly recognized, and I liked it. But it wasn't just the stamps in my passport pages that were building me into the person I am. It was coming face to face with fear, time and time again.
Let me tell you, fear almost talked me out of being here right now. Thailand, that should have been the end of my story. But there was one decision that changed everything. And that decision was to hit record. You see, this little camera, it doesn't look like much, but this represents one of my biggest fears, the fear of judgment. Who do I think I am to hit record, to publish on YouTube?
Hi, my name...
That first video, it was rough.
Hi, my name's... No, I need some water.
Even embarrassing, but I needed it.
No, that was awkward.
I needed to come face to face with my fears because just on the other side was all of this. And I was so close to missing out on it because I told myself I didn't have what it took to be on camera. My life was too ordinary. I mean, come on. I was an accountant living in downtown, doing what everyone else did.
Today is my mom's birthday. Yeah, happy birthday, Mom.
But that single decision is why I'm here today. And it's also why over 5,000 other content creators have joined me to go face to face with their own fears and self-doubts, and to turn this from a hobby into a full-time career, to turn travel into something that doesn't have to be a vacation, but can be something that's full-time. And right now, I have something for you. And it's something that I've been building for the last 5 years. It's 200 and growing tutorials to share the entire process from total beginner to full-time creator.
Like before I got like the program, it was going like this, like steadily I was learning. But then once I got it and once I started implementing everything I learned, it's just been going like that. I was at 25,000 euros in 1 month. Yeah.
That's so sick.
It's a absolutely loaded calendar of mentorship and direct access to me and my creator coaches.
It's group trips with other people just like you. Think of like a run club, but for people who are building a career on social media.
And it's a step-by-step system for ordinary people to build extraordinary lives. And today is the best opportunity we've ever had to join. Facing fear isn't easy, but what choice do we have? The good things are conveniently just on the other side of a few tough decisions. But the sooner you make them, the sooner you get to live out your full potential. Now, it's your turn. Check the link or the QR code because today is the best day we've ever had to join Lost Creator Academy. We got a few more continents to travel. Let's get back on the road.
Travel in 2021.
A few years into this journey around the world, and my travels brought me here, to the sub-Saharan side of Africa. At this point, I was an experienced traveler. I no longer had the same fears I used to, but arriving here brought me back to a lot of the same feelings of being a new traveler. Haggling for a taxi, trying to get a SIM card. It was almost like a different form of chaos than I'd ever seen before. That moment in particular, I wasn't ready for that. But actually, it was a joy to be brought back into my early days, to feel like a new traveler all over again. But if there's just one golden takeaway from my time in Africa, well, it starts with a humble little bookshelf in my parents' basement and a row of 24 yellow National Geographic magazines. I came from a pretty structured home. There was no video games unless it was a weekend. So Monday to Friday, I spent a lot of time inside those books, hours and hours, studying what was written, but most of all, captivated by the photos. As I studied these books, there was one section that caught my attention more than any other, and that was the wild side of Africa. From the wildebeest crossing of the Masai Mara, the complex and beautiful relationship of the supreme hunters, the shocking intelligence of the chimpanzees. It felt like I was reading Avatar, but this was real life. This was our planet. I didn't know it at the time, but these photos, they were calling my name. But I always believed it only way I would experience Africa was inside of here. Maybe you can relate. See, I grew up believing that most of the world was off limits, at least for a person like me. But as I confronted my own self-imposed borders, my own frontiers, a new border was created.
I had a lot of misconceptions and wrong ideas of the world, Africa especially.
To be here and observe this, God, it's just one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
I always believed you must spend tens of thousands of dollars to travel Africa, and yet I met travelers doing it for all sorts of different budgets, some even under 100 US a day.
You need security to travel Africa. And yet, there I was, wandering the streets of Dar es Salaam, experiencing the hustle of an African city. Every time this happened, my own walls got pushed further and further out. Africa was the frontier I thought I would never cross. And there I was, becoming the photographer and storyteller I idolized as a kid.
Hi, my name's Christian, and this is my application for National Geographic.
Christian, stay right there, stay right there! Dude! And if there's just one golden lesson I got from Mother Africa, it's that limits aren't guardrails. They are challenges waiting to be conquered.
We're gonna be late for our flight. Okay, well, after that last guy incoherently mumbled at me something in Italian while holding a giant bottle and looked like he was about to hit me with it, I think it's time to go.
Europe. She's a tough one to summarize, especially because you can drive across 5 countries and 5 languages in a single day. But honestly, Euro travels were some of my least favorites. Long lines to enter museums,
There's literally so many people here.
chaotic streets with no parking, and so many castles they started all to become one. Sorry if I've offended you. But the problem wasn't Europe. The problem was that I was cramming the most popular spots into a time-constrained schedule. I was still learning what travel really meant.
There you go, nailed it.
But a few exhausting visits to Europe, and I started to come around. When I stopped traveling Europe like it was a checklist, not only did I come around to loving my time here, but I also uncovered a great discovery. The greatest moments are often the ones that come in between destinations. Or a little saying I made the other day, it's about the journey, not the destination. When I deeply fell in love with Europe was when I arrived with a wide open schedule. When I left time to wander, to try the random croissant shop, to take up the stranger's invite and join them for dinner. From the random deli in Paris, the street musician in Rome, and the aimless sunset drives in the hillsides of Milos, the best way to enjoy it is to go with no schedule and no plans.
Don't look down!
As we go all the way to the down under, where the toilets flush in the opposite direction and people walk on ceilings.
Australia. I never understood why it got its own continent, but it taught me a lot. For one, you gotta always check under your toilet lid. There's either a venomous spider, a death adder, probably a box jellyfish. And if there's one thing that really shared with me, it's that you gotta enjoy every moment like it could be your last. Because when you go to the toilet, it could very well be your last.
We've just touched down back home here in Vancouver. Feels good.
I've always had a complicated relationship with home. I always found it too cold, too gray, and I swore I was born on the wrong side of the world. I was meant to be riding a surfboard, not a snowboard. Growing up, I had zero interest in traveling Canada, and I knew someday I was gonna leave. Well, I got what I wanted, and I started traveling the world. And the craziest thing happened. I started to see things about my country that I never noticed. I started to appreciate the details I had completely taken for granted. Never did I think I would do this.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What is going on?
Or this. It took me a few years to get to this place, but after many years on the road, there was nowhere more exciting to go explore than my own backyard. So I flew to Montreal, picked up this RV, and just started driving, hiking, driving some more, and driving a lot more. My God, this country is huge.
Holy cow. Look at all of these cows. I've never seen that many in my life.
Over the next few weeks, I found myself appreciating so many things inside this country I never took notice to. And I think if Canada taught me one thing, it's that the best way to appreciate what you have is sometimes to leave. My time around the world gave me perspective to appreciate the things that I could have never seen. And once I had experienced Asia, Europe, and beyond, I started to ask myself what else this continent had. And over the years, I've been blessed with a ton of time in the beautiful country of USA. Giant forests, coastlines, volcanic islands, eclectic and vibrant cities.
What was that?
Wow! Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Wow, this is amazing!
I don't think there's a country with more of a wide range than this. USA really has it all. And if they don't, well, they'll probably come grab it soon. And I gotta say, the part that makes North America one of the most incredible continents on Earth is our southern brothers.
Hola, señor.
No, una poca, no una poca.
Una poca de grasa. La bamba. Ok, Luis, así.
Mexico is one of my favorite places on the planet. From the blue water I'd always dreamed of having, the white sand beaches, but most of all, it's that flair for life. Nobody knows how to enjoy life more than the Mexicans.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is a Mexican dog. Balam. Hola, Balam.
Also, I just want to say how robbed Central America is. They never really got their own continent, but hey, you guys are adopted by North America, and we love you. Well, if there's one thing I learned from my home, it's that the grass is always greener, and sometimes you gotta leave the lawn to see just how beautiful she really was. Now, South America, this is a wild place.
Oh my God, there's so many! Boy, mosquito!
The landscapes are grand, the culture is vibrant, and the people are beautiful and picante. But honestly, not all lessons learned from the road leave you with a smile on your face. Some destinations show you the complexity and fragility of our planet. As I landed in one of the most rural regions of Peru, another childhood dream came to life. I had arrived at one of the world's last great frontiers, the Amazon rainforest. I was about to experience untouched wilderness at last.
Goodbye, civilization.
Well, that's what I believed. But you see, this region was far from a virgin rainforest. There was no shortage of mosquitoes, but by surprise, there were far fewer wildlife encounters than I could have ever expected. An hour could go by at a time without so much as even seeing a bird. My guide told me of the old days, when he was just a kid, where wildlife was everywhere. With sadness on his face, he told me that so much had changed. Entire waterways he grew up exploring had been redirected for farms. Forest fires had become a real issue, and commercial logging had destroyed much of these former natural habitats. As it turns out, roughly 11 soccer fields worth of rainforest are cut every minute. And that leaves only about a third of this forest left. I left Peru grateful for this adventure, but also saddened by what I discovered. I think it might have been my first-hand experience of seeing just how delicate our ecosystems are, and a sense of just how small this planet really is. My trips to Peru, Chile, Bolivia, and Brazil have been beautiful and always exciting, but they also showed me that life is hard. Out here, you don't go far without hearing stories of crime and corrupted leadership. South America gave me a raw and real look at our planet, but it's actually not the harsh discoveries that first come to mind when I think of this region. The most standout part of this region, despite challenging circumstances, is the warmth and the enthusiasm of the Latin world. These people live in their feelings, and they know how to make a total stranger feel like family.
Okay, I'm ready.
I might not be able to learn how to dance like them, but their warmth and appreciation for the moment is something I have tried to better incorporate into my own life. And honestly, I could definitely use more time down here. If the beauty of the Inca Trail, the mountains of Rio, or the Uyuni salt flat of Bolivia aren't enough to win you over, then I'd say travel South America to meet the spiciest and liveliest people out there. Just don't get on their bad side.
I need to see your ticket.
And that brings me to the final continent and the lessons I can't share yet because I haven't been. Just the idea of Antarctica gives me an excitement that I can't describe. It's almost the same nervous feeling as when I first got on that flight heading over to Bangkok. That's how you know you've found your next destination. Well, let's just say it's definitely a goal of mine, and I hope to bring you there very soon. If there's just one great lesson from going out and seeing our planet, it's that she is far too beautiful to be reading or watching from the sidelines. No amount of travel videos will ever give you the reality of being in the Amazon, of getting mugged by an orangutan in the rainforest of Borneo.
Oh my god, he's going on the boat! He went on our boat! He took the bag of chips!
Of eating cockroaches with your friend in Mexico City. No, you know what? This one's better off watched. Of climbing to the top of Machu Picchu.
Look at this, what the heck?
Or of renting an RV and crossing Canada. This planet is our greatest gift. Now it's your turn to get out there and see it for yourself.
Touch this bottle, it's very warm.
Don't touch me! Ew! Get it off me!